Hey guys, Casual Commander here. My name is Nick, and
Wait. I'm gonna interrupt you for a second. So, what did you just do today?
um, I beat my friend in a 1v1 Commander fight.
Oh!
It's
This
big for me.
this deck is new. This is the hotness, dude. You want to go competitive with this deck because he beat his buddy 1v1 in it.
Yeah, definitely competitive. Very, very competitive.
Okay, so to get serious, you got this structure deck
Yeah, I picked it up about how many years ago would you say?
a couple,
Three,
yeah,
two, two,
2 years ago.
two,
Yeah.
two. So 2 years ago, I picked up this Commander deck because he's like, "Hey, we play Commander." And yeah, so I just went up. I just said, okay, cool. I'm gonna go pick up a commander deck for structure deck from Walmart, and this is what I picked up. And I made a lot of changes to it. So we got Ghired Conclave Exile here. Whenever he comes out into the battlefield, he creates a 4/4 green rhino creature token with trample, and every time he attacks, he also creates another rhino 4/4 with trample that's also attacking as well. So this can get pretty ridiculous if just left alone. A lot of damage can be put onto the board. Um, so yeah. Next, we're gonna go with lands. So I run 12 forests, 4 mountain, and I believe 9 plains. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plains. You definitely don't need to run this many dual lands that I have, or non-basic lands. You can definitely just run it with forest, mountains, and plains. You don't need to be running as much as I am here.
What color do you think you want the most of, though?
What color? Green.
Okay, so green's the most
I
important
think
color.
green is the most important color.
Red's probably the least important.
Red is the least important, plains in the middle, because most of my enchantments are usually white.
Yeah. Okay.
So I guess starting off with the non-basic lands, you got Boros Garrison, just taps for 2 mana instead of 1, but you have to return a land.
Flip them upside down. Oh,
you have to you have to return a land that you've previously played in order to play that.
Nick, I'm gonna be honest. With the non basics, unless they have some special synergies, I wouldn't even bother because basically it's just
that.
I don't. No, I'm just saying I don't think these are interesting or that they matter.
Selesnya Sanctuary. All right, Cinderglade. Myriad Landscape. It allows.
People know what Myriad Landscape does.
Does it?
Yeah.
Do they? All right, whatever. I won't. Grape Out Refuge.
This is the only time I'll do this.
Sandu
in the
Refuge.
Video. The only time I'll do this to get you to skip ahead is just for the lands.
Rogue's Passage.
I find non-basic lands incredibly boring, and I think a lot of people do.
I definitely want to cut down on them.
Well, like I said, if there's some special synergy in the deck where you're like, okay, so when you do this non-basic land, this has a synergy with this one card or whatever, but everything that you have, as far as I know, there's no special synergies. It's just like
there's no synergies really. It's just I'm just telling you what I'm specifically running.
All right, well, you can bust them out real quick.
Crowsand Verge, Blossoming Sands, Gargoyle Castle, Sungrass Prairie, Rugged Highlands, Gruul Turf, Exotic Orchard, Jungle Shrine,
and I think a lot of these
just command.
A lot of these are just from that commander deck. So.
It's just from the commander deck. That's why I'm running them.
All right, let's move the lands to the side.
All right, lands are done.
So within 4 minutes, we got through
we got through the lands.
We got through the crap. What I would say.
The crap.
Okay.
This is just the boring stuff. Here's the fun stuff. Yeah. All right, here we go. Grook's Pack Leader. It's a 5 cost. And says whenever another creature with power 3 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw. It's just you usually don't swing with these guys. You just kind of put them on field, and their passive effects take effect. That's just for good for draw power. Wayfaring Temple. Wayfaring Temple's power and toughness are each equal to number of creatures you control. This is whenever Wayfaring Temple deals combat damage to a player, populate. This is a very heavy populate deck. That's basically what our goal is. It's just we're gonna pop out tokens.
Do you see where the camera's at?
No.
Okay, this is the sweet spot.
I thought you were right there. Is this the sweet spot?
Yeah.
All right. It's okay. I can edit this out and shorten it.
No, that's fine.
V2 Ghazi Guildmage. It's just a 2 cost 2/2. but it says you can pay 6 to create a 3/3 green centaur creature token, or you can pay 4 to just populate. And since that's what we're going for, of course she's in there. Rock Egg. This is just something you throw out, hoping it dies, I guess.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this. So we're not editing this out because it's just part of the funniness of the channel. I'm gonna actually get behind you because when you're describing the cards, nobody can see what the card is until you're like almost done with it. So
All
yeah,
right.
we can do this.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, if you want, if you can hold it yourself, yeah, that way.
All right. This is fine. This is new to me. I don't like holding the camera. Dragon Master Outcast. Says at the beginning of your upkeep, you can, if you control 6 or more lands, create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. This, if left alone, can get pretty ridiculous as well, since you're just kind of populating tokens constantly. Soul of Zendikar says it's got reach. You pay 5 to create a 3/3 green beast creature token, or you can pay 5 and exile this card, Soul of Zendikar, from your graveyard and create a 3/3 green beast creature token. Since that's what we're doing, obviously he's in there. Thragtusk says whenever it enters the battlefield, you gain 5 life, and whenever it leaves the battlefield, create a 3/3 green beast creature tokens. And since it creates tokens and we're gaining life, I think this is just one of those cards that's like a must in there. Voice of the Many. When Voice of the Many enters the battlefield, draw a card for each opponent you control who controls fewer creatures than you. It's just for draw power. It doesn't really do well against 1v1s, but it's still nice draw power. Maja Bredagard Protector. Other creatures you control get +1/+1s. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 white human warrior creature token. And since we're creating tokens, this is just one of those cards. You just pop it out and it creates tokens. Whenever it leaves. Armada Worm. I don't get to play with this card much, and I would like to. It says it's got Trample, it's a 5/5. When Armada Worm enters the battlefield, put a 5/5 green worm creature token with Trample onto the battlefield. And since we're using all these cards to create tokens, and with Populate, you can create copies of these tokens. So again, put this on the battlefield, and if you can populate it out, good for you. It's a lot of power to be putting on board. Tristani Selesnia's Voice. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life equal to the creature's toughness. Not much to really say here, except that it just populates as well. So since that's what we're doing. Hamletback Goliath. Now, since you're populating, man, this thing can get pretty ridiculous in a turn or two. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you may put X +1/+1 counters on Hamletback Goliath, where X is that creature's power. Since we're populating such big tokens, if you can get this out in the field and populate 1 or 2 times, this thing's already getting up to like 20, like 15, 20 health and power. And this thing is just, it's a monster. It's a freaking powerhouse. Omnath, Locus of Rage. I really like this card. It says it's got landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a 5/5 red and green elemental creature token onto the battlefield. Whenever Omnath, Locus of Rage, or another elemental you control dies, it deals 3 to target creature or player. It's got burn. It's got basically populating with that landfall. And it's just it's great whenever you can get it out. Selesnya Eulogist. It's just a 3, exile target creature card from a graveyard, then populate. Again, if you're making big tokens, this it can get pretty good. You can get 1 free populate each turn if you can get it off. Godsire, this card is massive. I don't even need to explain this card. It's got Vigilance, you tap it, you can create an 8/8, and it's just, once you get this out and you tap it multiple times, you can populate with it. This thing is just, it's a game winner. As soon as you pop this out, people are going to want to target it and target you. Desolation Twin. This thing is massive as well. You get the 10 mana to create a 10/10 colorless Eldrazi creature token, as well as this creature. So you pop this out, and then you create another one. You can populate with it. Again, this is one of those cards where it's just like you're just gonna populate it, and it's gonna be massive. You're gonna be a big target, which is good because you're doing the good stuff. Verdant Sun's Avatar. Whenever Verdant Sun's Avatar or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. Since we're creating such big tokens, you leave this on the field, you're going to have basically infinite life. People are not going to be able to deal that much damage to you, especially if you're populating and have these big creatures that can block and survive, burns or whatever. Giant Adaphage. It's got trample. Whenever Giant Adaphage deals combat damage to a player, create a token that's a copy of Giant Adaphage. See, that's what we're doing. We're just creating tokens, man. It's pretty good. 7 cost for a 7/7. Oh, Amara Tandris. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to creature tokens you control. You just have this out. You keep populating, man. They're not indestructible, but they can prevent all that damage, which is a big threat. So they're gonna need to target this first. Tristani's Summoner. When Tristani's Summoner enters the battlefield, put a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance, a 3/3 green centaur creature token, and a 4/4 green rhino creature token with trample onto the battlefield. You play this, and you get 3 different tokens out. And you can populate any one of those. I would prefer the Rhino token with trample, but it's just a card you get out there and you create tokens with it. Bunch of blockers. Rampaging Baloths. It's got trample, landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may create a 4/4 green beast creature token. And since you're just going to be dropping land every turn, you keep the people leave this card on the field, it's going to be a bad time, I'm telling you. That's with the creatures out of the way. We're going to go into sorceries. Ghired's Belligerence. Ghired's Belligerence deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures. Whenever a creature dealt this way dies this turn, you can populate. So it's burn and you populate. What else do I say? You're getting those tokens. Decimate. Destroy target artifact, target creature, target enchantment, and target land. You're destroying a lot with this card. It keeps people on edge, and it just keeps them from being able to do the things that they want, as well as messing up your board. Traverse the Outlands. Search your library for up to X basic land cards where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Put those cards onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Since we're creating really big tokens, if you even target this with like a 4/4 Rhino, you're ramping 4. So that's basically it there. Harmonize, draw 3 cards, just simple draw power. Hour of Reckoning. Destroy all non-token creatures. It's kind of like a last-ditch effort, really, because most of the creatures give you passive effects whenever you populate. So if you're about to lose and you want like a little comeback, just wipe the board except for all your creatures, and it's a bad time. Cultivate. Just ramp. Phyrexian Rebirth. Destroy all creatures and create an XX colorless horror artifact creature token where X is the number of creatures destroyed this way. You can get out. This is another last-ditch effort. Your opponents have a bunch of cards. You don't. Phyrexian Rebirth. You all of a sudden have a really big creature and they have nothing. Shamanic Revelation. Draw a card for each creature you control. You got to be careful now because when you're populating, you can definitely deck yourself out with this. I have done it. It's also got, you gain 4 life for each creature you control with a power 4 or greater, and it's just more life is always good. Overwhelming Stampede. Until end of turn, creatures you control gain trample and get +X+X, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. A lot of people don't like this card because it's just you just play it for 5 and it just makes all of your creatures a powerhouse. And you know, last time I had a chance to use this, I actually opted not to use it because it's just too easy. But it's still really good.
Take it out of your deck.
No.
I don't get it. You acknowledge that it's too good.
It's not too good. I'm just saying that like
it is too good. You can throw it in any deck.
I'll come back to it. I'm continuing. 3 visits, just ramp. Full flowering. Since we're populating X times. It requires 2 X's for the cost as well as 1. So obviously, since we're populating, this is a no-brainer. Explore, just draws, land, ramp. Vivian's Invocation. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest of the bottom in your library in the random order. When a creature is put on the battlefield this way, it deals damage equal to the power of target creature your opponent controls. So it's just a good way to try to get cards from the top of your deck. What else do I really say about it? No really tech or nothing there. Just Urzary's Predation. For each creature your opponents control, create a 4/4 green Phyrexian Beast creature token. This can get pretty ridiculous. Each of those tokens fights a different one of those creatures. You play this and you're spending the next 10 minutes trying to figure out where you're who you're trying to attack, and and all that. It's just it's crazy. Heat Mirage. Choose up to 2 target creatures you don't control. For each of those creatures, create a token that's a copy of that creature. Those tokens gain haste. Exile them at the beginning of the next end step. Those creatures also you can actually populate off of them and make them permanents. So they have something good on field. Create a token of it and then populate, and you got that for basically free. Skyshroud Claim, just ramp, and Farseek, just another ramp card. That's it for the sorceries. We're going to instants now. Advent of the Worm, create a 5/5 green worm creature token with trample. Again, you can populate off of it. Return to Nature. Choose 1, destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, or exile target card from graveyard. You're basically just using this for the first 2, but it's pretty good for removal. Rootborn Defenses. Populate. Creatures you control gain indestructible until turn. This is kind of a game winner towards endgame. But if you want, you can just bring out Ghired. Populate a couple, get one Rhino out with 4/4 trample, and then populate, and then they gain indestructible, and they can't do nothing about it. So it's good for pressure early game as well as a winner for end game. Exile Scott Sylvian Reclamation. Exile up to 2 target artifacts and or enchantments, basically in cycling, and it's just good removal. 2 artifacts and or enchantments. It gets things off the field that you don't like. Second Harvest. In my opinion, it's also a game winner. For each token you control, create a token that's a copy of that permanent. You have a bunch of tokens out, and it's just your board will fill up very quickly. Shastani's Judgment. Exile target creature, then populate. We're getting rid of something and we're populating. What else can I say? Sundering Growth. Destroy target artifact or enchantment, then populate. Same thing here. Just we're getting rid of something and populating. No brainer. Naya Charm. Naya Charm deal 3 to your target creature. Return target card from graveyard to owner's hand, or tap all creatures target player controls. You combine this with the Indestructible, and that's another game winner right there.
Now that's a good card.
Yeah, it's a good card. Whatever. I like it. Druid's Deliverance. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to you this turn, then populate. We're preventing damage and we're populating. That's the whole theme of this deck. We're populating. Populate. Crash the Party. Create a tapped 4/4 green Rhino I'm going to redo that because I'm going to create a tapped 4/4 green Rhino Warrior creature token. For each tapped creature you control, you swing out, you crash the party, and it's a big problem. Slice in Twain. Destroy target artifact or enchantment and draw a card. Again, we're getting rid of something, and we're drawing. It's plussing. It's good. Green, 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 green. Moving on with enchantments. This is obvious. This is probably my favorite part of the deck.
Then why don't you play more?
Because these enchantments are enough. Angelic Chorus. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you can gain life equal to its toughness. We're gaining life. We're populating. It's a no-brainer. Garruk's Uprising. Whenever Garruk's Uprising enters the battlefield, if you control the creature with power 4 or greater, you draw a card. All your creatures have trample. And whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. This is too good, honestly. I'm not going to take it out.
Then let's house ban it.
House ban it?
No, just kidding.
It's just a lot of draw power, really. It's not gaining life or anything. You're just drawing a card.
But I've tried playing that in decks, but obviously I've never seen it get used so well in a deck. Like in your deck, I'm like, it's just
this deck. Like anyone else tries to run this in their deck, and it's meh. It's cool, whatever. I run it in my deck, and it's like, okay, you got to get it off the field. Intangible Virtue. Creature tokens you control get +1/+1 and have vigilance. We're populating and we're buffing. And it has vigilance. We don't have to tap for them to attack. So it's good. Elemental Bond. Whenever a creature with power 3 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. It's just more draw power. You stack this on top of Garruk's, and you're drawing 2 every time you populate. And since we populate so much, that's a lot of cards. Warstorm Surge. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. You can easily burn out everyone at the table with this. It takes a lot to get out, but it's worth it. Song of the World Soul. Whenever you cast a spell, populate. It's high cost, but it's worth it. We're casting a lot of spells, a lot of enchantments. Everything we cast is a spell, so populating. Angelic Renewal. Whenever a creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, you may sacrifice Angelic Renewal, and if you do, return that card to the battlefield. I like to save this for Ghired. If Ghired is in danger, pop this out, and it saves Ghired from being able to go into the graveyard and put back into your command zone with those extra mana costs. You don't want it. Growing Ranks. At the beginning of your upkeep, populate. You put this out, people are going to want to pop it immediately because you are populating. You get out like Godsire with an 8/8. You put this out, you're creating 2 8/8s each turn for free. So it's just not a good time for them. Great time for us. Sunbird's Invocation.
My favorite red card.
It's amazing. Mm-hmm. Whenever you cast a spell from your hand, reveal top X cards from your library, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. You may cast a card revealed this way with converted mana cost X or less without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You get this off, it's ridiculous. You're getting a lot of things out on the field that you want. And for the last, we got artifacts, and we only have 2. Lightning Greaves. I don't need to explain it, do I? Lame. Idol of Oblivion. You get out for 2 mana. You can tap to draw a card. Activate this ability only if you created a token this turn. So if you populated, you can just get a free draw for this. Or if you save up the 8 mana, you can tap 8 and then sacrifice Idol of Oblivion. Create a 10/10 colorless Eldrazi creature token. You can save it up. I've done it before. Basically, whenever I get this out, they can't really do nothing about it. So, but yeah, that completes the deck profile for Ghired Conclave Exile. Let me know what you guys think, and here you go.